Hello, I'm Carrie Gard, and welcome back to Tea Time with Tech Marketing Leaders. I so appreciate each and every one of you last week who watched the show for all of the 10 minutes of its glory and reached out to me and reminded me how human it is to just have a moment and to give me that moment. And I'm so grateful. It was the last day of school for my kids on year 3, and the feelings and the struggle was real. And I'm grateful to take a minute to pause and say, you know what, I need to go give those children a hug and put them to bed, and that's okay. It was awesome. We had a huge snuggle fest, and I'm grateful for that moment to have taken with them. But we're back, and I'm ready, and Tim's ready, and this is going to be a wonderful episode because it is a topic near and dear to my heart. Y'all, MKG Marketing turned 13 years old today. Today is our anniversary. We never celebrate. Thank you, Tim. We never celebrate. We always kind of forget. My business partner's father, Ken, appreciate you, Ken, always sends a card from the whole family to my business partner, recognizing what a momentous moment this is. And 13 years. We called it out to our team today and said, happy 13 years to MKG. What are you grateful for? And the love just poured in. And what really came across for me, which so resonates today for our conversation, is how we truly live our value of being people first. Recognizing that if you need to go pick up the kids from school, or you need to go give them a hug in the middle of a podcast, or you need to take that dog for a walk, or whatever the life outside of work is that needs to go get done, it can just go happen.
That's right.
And it's the beauty of being a remote company. It's the beauty of having a culture that has backup. It's all of these processes and systems that have been put in place to support the reality of being a true people first organization. And what a culture we have built these last 13 years. And I'm so grateful to all of the people along the way, from our clients to the teammates to the company we have today. What an honor, and what a show to lean into that, to say that we are not the only people out there who are making this happen. There are other teams and companies who are leaning into this element of being human. And Tim is going to walk us through what that is. Before we get there, a little bit about Tim Maloney. Oh my gosh, you guys. I'm going to give like a 30-second synopsis, but wait till you hear Tim's story. It's going to be, it's so good. It's so good. A little bit about Tim. He is a proven business leader, coach, and senior executive with entrepreneurial nature, high-level strategic planning skills, and a wide range of experience leading businesses and introducing dynamic growth strategies. As a collaborative and polished sales and channel leader, he knows how to put his people in a position to succeed and deliver actionable results. His dedication towards empowering future leaders and quickly identifying and solving business problems has enabled him to consistently ensure continuous improvement and purposefully shape the evolution of culturally aligned workforces. I mean, come on, folks.
I can't wait till you meet that person.
He's right here. Let me introduce you. Everyone, Tim Maloney.
Thank you. First off, Carrie, congratulations on 13 years. We should probably be doing this in reverse, right? I mean, anyone who can start their own business, and most of those go out within 12 months. You look at the statistics that say how many companies don't make it to year 5, and the very few that make it to 10. But to get to 13, all credit to you and your folks, right? That is a testament to leadership. That people would want to stay, your clients want to stay. So truly amazing results. I should ask you questions.
Well, I'm happy to turn those tables one day, and I look forward to it. It has been a wonderful journey. It has been a testament to both the people we've luckily gotten to hire. We had our very first employee, Christian Bullock, I'm calling you out. Very first employee who took a chance on us was with us for 8 years. I mean, and brought people along, anywhere from his twin brother, who then brought other people along, to, it's just been this natural, lovely growth, even to this day, from clients who left and went to other companies and brought us along. Like, really, that's what it's all about, is that people and relationship building aspect, right? And that's really what the testament is to. So thank you, Tim. I agree. It's hard to build a business, but it starts at just connecting with people and giving them what they need and hearing them and validating it and delivering. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. And it's clearly what you're here for, because that's what I just read in your little bio here. Thank you to my children for allowing me to read to them for the last 8 years so that I could read epic bios like that one. It's a good one. And I'm excited to really dive into your story and then unpack what it means to take all of your experience and empower your team to even to this day. So why don't you walk us through it? Where are you today and how did you get there?
Sure. So today I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for ZenGRC. So how did I get here? It's a question that I get a lot of times. People are like, I want to be a CRO. I want to do that. And I'm like, do you really? Right? Do you really? I've been fortunate. I don't know that my path was a straightforward one. I think to back up a little bit, I think I got to this chair that I rent. And this is a lease, right? Like my CRO title and chair is just a lease. And I have to earn it every day. And if I do that, I get to sit back in this chair tomorrow, right? And that's the deal I have with my boss, is that I will give my best every day, but that I treat it as a tryout. And if you start there, I think good things happen. I've been fortunate to have great mentors. And Carrie, I was allowed to fail. I think one of the dilemmas that we all face as we aspire through our careers is, how do I get ahead in a world where somebody's going to tell me that you don't have the experience for the next step? Everybody had that problem. And so having good mentors that allowed me to go do things that I had never done, sometimes at work, sometimes you fail, but it was ingratiated in me at a young point in my career, like be successful or learn. Right? Because failure is nothing more than just an attempt that did not work out. And can we learn from that? So on my journey to this seat, I have I started my own company with my brother. It was the greatest experience of my life. I've worked for small organizations in the single-digit millions and up to multi-billion-dollar publicly traded companies where I was at Zoom, where I ran their national partner program. At Autodesk, I was allowed to buy a $300 million company as part of that team, integrated it and ran it from a worldwide basis. And, and those were the days when I was doing that over the phone. And you just learn. And so I've had channel jobs, direct selling, support roles, and all I think came together to prepare me for this, the CRO title, which is nothing more than, I'm the head revenue generator and revenue defender at a high level, right? Those are my two goals. And through that, all the companies I've been at and all these companies I aspired to be a part of, it was people. I've been fortunate. People took a chance on me, and I look at my team that way as well. It's the people that make the difference, and you have to trust them and listen to them. My job as the CRO is not the answer person. I don't think any CRO should be the answer person. I think my job is to listen to the incredibly smart people that I've employed, that we've hired. And then if I've done my job right, that I put in the right spot and then I listen. It becomes much easier in life, all right, to find people, I think, better than yourself. And in fact, so let me stop there because I could go on all day, but that's sort of my journey. Was I wanted to be a fighter pilot in the Navy. I broke my hand. That did not work out. They sing songs about California. They don't sing songs about Vermont. Maybe now that Noah Khan is popular, but back in the day they did not. And they say, "Go West, young man," and that's what I did. And then made it up from there. I wasn't sure. All I knew, Carrie, is I wanted to be in a leadership role. I wanted to be at the table where you got to make a decision, you got to help craft a company. And the reason I wanted to be a CRO is having been the benefit of good mentoring and bad mentoring, right? One of my most important jobs is how do I treat my people and how do I help them? And so that's a little bit about my background, sort of how I got to this seat, kind of a roundabout way. But yeah, I think it's all paid off. I think sometimes in life when we go through the difficult, you get wrapped in the moment and it's hard to see the experience, right? When you're getting your teeth kicked in, right? You're like, somebody's going to, that'll be beneficial later. Like, yeah, it still hurts now. But later, all those experiences, the good and the learning, enable you with some scar tissue to get in some of these seats to say, okay, I've seen things. I do know some things. And what I do know is I'm going to go find people better than I am. I'm going to find the very best people I can and put them on my hardest missions, because those are the only people that probably pull it off, right? And if I've done my job right, when it's right, it's my people. And when it's wrong, it's my fault. And then you go from there.
That's so true. Oh my gosh, there's so much to unpack there. First of all, I have to commend you for your background, because everything you said in regards to leadership, your background accumulates perfectly between the Captain America shield, the Ted Lasso believe. Like, I am here for both of those things. And it encompasses everything you just said in terms of the leader that you try and show up and be, between the hard and the sort of, Captain America was very much that I'm going to shield you from all of the stuff that's happening. Versus the Ted Lasso about the feels, right? And everything about being vulnerable, and as a leader, how you empower your team through their emotion. Like, oh my gosh, the dichotomy, I'm here for it.
Thank you.
There's a couple things you said. One is the good versus the bad mentoring.
Sure.
I would love to know your experiences, and to Peter's point, lessons is blessings. I feel like that aligns with this, around good mentoring you've had over the years versus it's that kind of the mentor I want to be.
Yeah.
So you have some examples for us on that of your journey?
I think the good mentors. And what is a mentor? Right? They are someone that I have had the benefit of going to and asking questions to, seeking guidance and bouncing ideas off of, right? In a litmus test, like somebody not directly in my chain of command, someone's not emotionally connected to my career. So you get that good and unfiltered advice, and you have to trust them and respect your mentor. It can't just be a person. It has to, I think they have to be important to you, because otherwise the guidance that you get, you sort of brush off. And then to your listeners, I would say mentors are like snowflakes. No two are the same. Don't limit yourself to one. You don't need 80, but it's probably healthy. And so lessons learned. The best mentors I had got to understand me and really understood what my objectives were. They did not try to press upon me their views of Tim, what are your goals? Walk me through those things. And the lessons I learned from that was the good, unfiltered, hey, you could be better here. Walk me through that. Can you tell me what you're thinking? And so those were respectful conversations. And sometimes those mentors give you hard advice. But at the end, I always believed that they had their very best interest for me in mind. And because of that, when I would go ask for guidance, I would listen and try to act upon it, because even if it was something I didn't agree with, that was the moment. Like, that's why I went to a mentor, because I want this. Yeah. Hey, Carrie, you and I agree about great stuff. That's amazing. All right. Tim's doing some things right. But where I saw the lesson was that those people who could talk to you about root cause. Yeah, sure. There's some tactical things, but hey, Tim, dress for the job that you want next. What is tell me about what you do beyond 5 o'clock. And I'm not looking for you to take one for the team, but can you tell me what you do beyond your role? Are you a force of good? What about the wake you leave behind? What is that? And are you even aware of it? And that was really good lessons about being to the next level. And, the attitude of this is a lease and not a goddamn given right. Right. And when leadership acts like that, when my boss acted like that, and I really felt that person was trying every day to be the very best that they could be to their people. What you get out of that lesson is that your people will throw down for you as well, because my boss would do it for me. So I'm never going to lose sight of that. So those were the lessons, but authentic. It was good. It was sometimes painful, but it was important. And because people, if you take the time to really maybe not go through the motions, but listen to that person you're helping, or if you were that person, who did you choose? Right? Why? And what are you doing about that advice? Because otherwise, don't go bother them anymore. Like, don't call me for advice if if that's all we're going to do for goddamn week. Like, yeah, here's some things like. So those are the good mentors. The bad ones, the mistakes I made were people didn't know me well enough, that I shot too high or I shot somewhere else because I thought that title might be cool for Tim Maloney to have. Like, I didn't have a connection there. And therefore, it's hard to get anything meaningful besides surface level stuff. And when the guidance becomes what's good for the other person. Carrie, we think you should probably go do that shit. And you're like, yeah, that doesn't help me though. Who's this helping? Or that's stupid fucking advice. I'm not taking any. Susie, I told you I wouldn't do it. That conversation isn't relevant, and it didn't feel authentic, and it wasn't actionable. I'm not looking for that coaching. I'm responsible for me, and I'm responsible for my career, as we all are for our own. But bad mentors, I think, didn't care, and that could be my fault. It could be they're busy, there's none of that alignment, or the things are not working. I think it's the language in which you communicate to someone else, how you talk, all those little things make, I think, the less we are. Why are you doing it? What do you expect out of this? What do you expect that other person's going to do? And why are you asking them? And then the next step of that is, what are you going to do when you get guidance? And if you're not going to do any of those things, then you go in the corner and deal with it yourself.
Yeah, no, the action piece is really important. There's a couple people that come to mind for me that say similar things, and I want to double down on this because I think when we get to a leadership position as a CRO, a CMO, even a VP, we seem like we have to go at it alone, and that we should have all the answers. And newsflash for anybody working under us,
they know.
No idea.
I think my team knows.
I hope they know, right? At this point, I think I've been authentic enough that they know I'm figuring it out as I go, and I'm getting as much coaching as mentorship as I can along the way. And I think that's important. So one podcast I listened to called Pivot, or the Prof G, Scott Galloway is somebody I listened to. And one of the things he built many brands, including a marketing agency, which is why I pay attention to what he says. But one of the things he talks about is having what he calls a cabinet. So find a bunch of folks who are going to tell you like it is, who you can trust, who give you a pat on the back when you deserve it, and tell you when to pipe up when you don't, right? And it's those folks that you want to be able to, and you want to take stock in a bunch of people, right? To not just have one person you go to, but to have a few people to say like, hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you, and get multiple opinions around a thing. I just really loved that. I've had many mentors along my journey. I have a business coach now who is my saving everything. Shout out to Todd Palmer. But you do need somebody who's willing to be in your corner, but also push you towards that hard thing that you don't quite want to do because it just feels a little too hard.
And that's right. And I think sometimes the mistake we make when we seek mentors is, my mentorship sometimes are from my peers, and they may not even know it. When I was I ran a worldwide program at Lifesize, and my VP of sales engineering, a gentleman by the name of Scott Rankin, and Scott is arguably the best sales engineer I've ever met in my life. And if anyone needs a world-class person, that's it. But what I value the most is that even though my title was different, that that individual would pull me aside and like, hey, I think you did well here, or like, hey, we said we weren't going to do this, and you capitulated 13 seconds into that. So that's, you're like, wow, so guidance is around us. And I tell my people, the answers are all around us if we will be open to listening and ask. And people all around us have their own world experiences, things that I want to tap into. And that's where, when I started this is, it's easy. Put your very best people on your hardest things. And that is like, how do you get to those people? And how do you find them? And so I use something, my 3 C's. chemistry, competency, and character, and in reverse order. If you want to work in my organization, so this is just for my squad, like my pro sports team in the league that I live in, this is the formula that we use. And so chemistry, competency, character in reverse order. Carrie, you have to have a compass that points true north. I don't give two shits how great you are. If you are not a good person, you are not staying here. It is what we are about. Our customers trust us. And at the end, people buy and sell from people. And I've been around long enough to know I don't want to deal with anyone who's not awesome. And so if you don't have a compass that points true north, you are a reflection of me because I hired you. And that's what it says about my organization. So you have to be great.
Tough love.
And next is competency. You have to be smarter than I am. We screen for it. I'd like to think I'm somewhat smart, but I'm only looking for incredibly smart people. Why? You don't have to know more. There's a difference. I've been kicked in the teeth a bunch and have a lot of scar tissue. But what I really am looking for in that intelligence is two functions. I am not the answer person. I'm not going to create an organization where Tim feels great because he hired all these sub-tier people that run to me for guidance. Like, the fuck is that? Like, that's weak. And I hope my competitors do it because it'd be easy for me to knock them off, right? Like, but when you find smarter people than you,
Mm-hmm.
put them in, and you put them in the right jobs, right? My success goes way up. Why? Then I'm going to defer to your world-class excellence. That's why I hired you. You have to have domain expertise. But what I'm really buying is, can you solve problems? And what happens when things go sideways? That's life. And are you equipped to handle it? So I look for people who are better than I am. And then last one is chemistry. I view my organizations like a pro sports team. I want every one of my people to overachieve their individual contracts and be happy and make a good living, but not at the expense of the name on the front of the jersey. We're a team, and that's how we'll win. And physics tells us that when we get the wavelength right, amplitude goes up with no more energy, and we call it resonance. You can measure it. There's a scientific formula for it. And resonance carries nothing more than a wave impacting a particle. You listen to a song in the background, goosebumps. Talk about last week being a mom and doing the right things in the moment and setting aside, like, you know what, there'll be another podcast. My kid is only going to be this age in this moment, this one time. And I'm going to show my value set, right? You're an awesome person. That's good culture. Why are you around 13 years? Those decisions, because those are the wake that you leave behind. And I think the rest of your company and your people see that. And they're like, that's authentic. That's who I want to be. That's the kind of leader that I want to be a part of. And so, people like resonance. I'm like, yeah, listen to a poem. When you see a sunset, you get goosebumps. That is your personal frequency for the universe, and it's happening. And so when I think
that's so important.
Right.
And so I want to like stop here for a second, because so often when we're hiring, right, and we depend on our team to hire for the greater team, right, and we're looking to them to make these decisions. I don't know about you, Tim, but there were so many times earlier on where we hired people where I was the last interview, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. There's a resonance, there's a tingling, I would ask one simple question, which is, tell me about a time you failed.
Oh, that is my favorite question. That is, we ask that all the time.
Yes, it's a great question. It's a great question because, oh my God, Trevor, welcome. I'm so glad you're here, Trevor. Talk about resonance, that guy. Anyway, it's a great question because when people answer it in a very real way and they take ownership of a moment where shit went sideways, it's like, yes. But when they talk about a moment where shit went sideways and they delve it out to other people and all
for sure, the false answer,
right? Right. And there were times where I would ask this question and people would delve it out to others, and I would make excuses. Well, they're a bit young, all of these things, right? And then these people wouldn't work out. And I'd be like, I knew better. And so I think there's so often when we're hiring, we want to give people the benefit of the doubt. We want to see the good in the moment and just say, it'll be fine. And everybody's coachable and it'll iron itself out. They're nervous. It's all good. It's not. We've been around the block enough. We've done enough interviews at this point. I know that when you're talking about chemistry and resonance, it feels a bit gray. And I know this is going to rub some people the wrong way to say all of these other things that I've already mentioned. Trust us that we've been around this block. There's a gut feeling to this of, whether somebody is going to meld right on in and be able to fit. Like, I hate the word fit in, but it's why culture exists. It's why values are a thing, because it's the North Star to say whether we're in alignment or we're not. And we have to trust that gut after we've seen what we've seen for so long, that it's okay. I don't want you to come here and fail, and this isn't going to work out. And I'm sorry for that, but also we're doing each other both a favor.
You're absolutely right. I think everybody comes to the interview with their hero story. Tim, I brought water to children in Africa. I cured cancer. I'm the most amazing person. I get it. You wouldn't have got this far without that. But what I like to do unprovoked in that interview is, hey, I just have one question. Tell me a time that you failed, and choose whatever you want. Because like you said, it's spot on. Do they tell me, and I actually don't care what that story is, right? The best one I ever heard, I was interviewing one of our country managers for Australia and taking this interview, and I asked him out of left field, tell me a time you failed. And what he said, and we hired him after this, he said, I coach my little boys rugby team, and they're 6 and 7. And, about a month ago, we're out in the field and they're screwing around, and I find myself raising my voice to kids, at which point I have to tell you, I wanted to cry. These are little kids. None of them are going pro. They're just here for fun. And what the hell am I doing? Raising my goddamn voice, playing a kid's sport, then I'm probably going to ruin this little human's desire to ever do this. And he's like, talking about failure. Man, I let my kid down. And I was like, jeez Christ.
I'm crying. Like, yes,
yeah. Hey, no, I got something in mind. And it was such an authentic answer. Yeah. That the window into that person, I was like, yeah, all right. That's what I want. The answer I hate. Carrie, company rolled out a new price plan, and my fault. Maybe I didn't understand it, and I went out and I talked, and I screwed up this deal because the pricing changed and I didn't know it. And now let me tell you about, and bullshit. You just told me through this answer, you will never probably take accountability for shit when it goes south, because you just told me that you would not in a simple interview. And maybe that's you trying to hedge your bet and not sure what I'm looking for. And I get it, but oh well. As the decider, and to your point, one of the things I try to do in my organization is be the last person. If it's not a direct report to me, then I want to interview everybody. I am the last stop, because as leaders, I'm the architect of culture. I am the responsible party for it. While it takes a village, it is my responsibility. If you do not like something, then who the hell else is going to solve it? I get paid to do this, and it's my job. So I agree with you. And that's how we start. We ask people a lot of questions, and we put them through a good process, because at the end of it, I'm looking for a great teammate. First, full stop. You are going to be a subject matter expert. But do I really care if you've been doing it 45 years or 10 years or 6 months or not? I don't give two shits. Why? Because that's not what I'm buying. What I'm buying is the person who I can trust, who's going to be a good person, who's going to help us succeed, but who's open to change, coaching, and learning, and who has ideas that can help us grow and change and be better as well, right? It's bi-directional. I want these people, like when I ask that failure question, I want them to know what they're getting into. I think everybody, Carrie, wants to be in the arena, and they're like, no, I could do that. And then the gate goes up and you walk out there and they're like, holy shit, there are lions out here. And you're like, yeah, yes, there are. Right? This is not a game.
I'm a gladiator.
Right. And so when we find those people through this process, we put people in spots where they can help us win the most. My amazing marketing leader ran my customer support team, my customer success program. And we're like, you are totally underused here, and we're going to fix that right goddamn now. Welcome to the front of the line, because you have ideas, you're smart, you're amazing, I trust you. And if you fail, so what? Fail fast forward, let's get at it tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And it's the people. We want to make sure that they understand. What I try to do with my folks is connect them to the left and the right navigational beacons. Carrie, what is your role here, and how does that connect to the overall goal? Do they even know? Right? And so we go through this with our people. Tell me what the goal is. Tell me the definition of success. How will you measure it? What resources do I have? And how much time? I will get back to you with a plan. And those are the environments. Those are the kinds of people that we want. We talk to them like CEOs. I want you to be the CEO of my marketing team. And I know that there's a CMO title and I have a CRO title. I want you to be the CEO. You are responsible for things and accountable, but you are never alone. We are a gang, and winning is a team sport. And so one of my jobs as the CRO is to knock down all the fiefdoms, to expose good people to other parts of my business. Because if one of your kids has a problem, they all do. If one of your people has a question, 90% of them have the same one.
It's true.
So squishing them together and candidly having them listen in reviews to the other departments talk about their challenge, their approaches, and their learning. And we have benefited two ways. One is people understand, like, maybe all the bad people are outside of the building. And if you wear this logo, then you're a good person. Let's start there, right? Shields come down. Like,
right. We're on together.
We're all the same team. And two, wow, isn't it motivating to listen to someone else overcome a challenge that you didn't believe that they could do? And you listen to people like, no, I didn't give up. And this is the thought process. And then I looked at it this way, because life is lenses. And sometimes when we can't figure out answers, like, hey, maybe I just need to take this lens off and try that lens and see the world through different. And you get exposure through other ideas and thinking. And that's
Let's break that down for a second, because I think this is the end all be all question. I host, which I look forward to inviting you to, a monthly gathering of anybody who's been on the show, TTwTML Tech Marketing Leaders. If you have been on the show and you have been an invite, let me know. I'm here for it. I want to get you. I want to have you come hang out with us. But we always come back to this question. Every week, inevitably, we come back to the question of marketing and sales alignment.
Yep.
And I feel like you're touching on that right now, of reminding everybody that we're all on the same team, and we're all here to fight the big bad wolf that is ultimately, I don't know, the revenue. It feels like we're always out to achieve revenue.
It does pay the bills.
It does pay the bills. So I feel like you're breaking it down right now. Help me understand what it sounds like. There's some meetings that are happening that people are listening into. Could you give us a little bit more clarity around how you bring these two things together when it feels like oil and water a lot of the time?
Yeah, sure. The first real quick is the basic to make sure that everybody understands is what are their goals and how do those goals relate to the overall mission? And the problem we used to have is marketing believed that they had one set of goals, sales team had its own goals, my CS team had its own goals. And the net result of that, Carrie, is the customer becomes a conveyor belt, or worse, gets on a trebuchet. And like the marketing team is like, hey, I got some leads, and shoot it down the line. And then you hope that somebody else catches it, right? And those are terrible things. And so what we wanted to do is like, okay, let's change first, give an independent thing that we're solving. Carrie, marketing doesn't have a problem. It's not you. It's the fact that the customer is on a conveyor belt. And what we need to do is shift the customer to the center of our universe. And now let's think about how we engage that customer collectively as a team. And do they connect to their goals? So I like all my people have revenue goals, because it keeps them pure to like what we're trying to do. At the end of the day, what are we trying to do? And my team came to me like, hey, Tim, your staff meetings are terrible. You need to fix them. And so one of the things that we've done, they maybe didn't say it like that, but they wanted to, was weekly, we meet as department heads, and they share their updates for the week. And these are the challenges I'm facing. This is what we're doing. This is what I'm doing about it. Here are my goals for the week. And what that allows you to do after time is just really respect the journey that the other person is on. Mm-hmm. If you know and understand, it becomes really hard to throw a rock at someone. Because if you're involved with them in the same little hole, then it's we statements. Rock fights, fiefdoms all begin when I have lost sight of what we're trying to do collectively. And my, like, I had a marketing team once. They're like, hey, met all the goals, Tim. I'm like, awesome. Let me describe this story differently too. You pump water out of the ground. Your quota was 5 gallons. You gave me 5 gallons, high five, threw a party and walked off. I gave that 5 gallons to the next person. They all died of poisoning. Why are you celebrating? Because we didn't even bother to check the output. We just checked a goal, an arbitrary box, and moved on thinking we were great. And that's the danger of a fiefdom. So we talk weekly and making sure that everyone's aware. My staff quarterly meetings, my QBRs, are while we talk about our goals and programs, it is almost equally important for all my other department heads to understand what they're doing, right? And how we all operate. You know, if you've never watched the movie Moneyball or read the book, you should do those things, because that is the collective thought process that we try to drive in our team. Is if I give up something to you and you can go help us all drive this thing forward, don't we win? And that happens when people are clear on what my role is, what Carrie's role, what John's role, what Jen's role, and what Tally's role is. And when you hear them, so we take time to drive that culture of connection between my people, but so they listen, so that my sales leader is not like, damn it, we need more leads. Now my VP of revenue operations will jump all over that person. Like, no, you don't. I think what we need to work on is, this problem or that problem, or have you thought about this way? And what that does is it really hammers down, allows you to focus on the nuclear issues and not get your ass wrapped around the bike rack ones, which are.
Oh my gosh, Tim, seriously, like, all right, there's 2 things I want to unpack here. I'm going to say them both out loud. So I make sure.
Like my therapist, like,
the first one is,
good Lord, Tim.
No, thank goodness somebody is speaking it out loud. Like, yes. So there's 2 things. One is company organization. So I want to come back to that for a second to understand who you're meeting with and then how that's laddering down. And the second thing I want to come back to is the goddamn leads. God. So let's talk about the first part first. It sounds like as the CRO, you're meeting with the CMO. Is there somebody else that I'm missing in that, or is it the 2 of you really coming together first?
So technically, I don't have a CMO. Okay. My leader of marketing, whose title is director, I speak to that leader as the CMO. I'm like, listen, I know you're just the director, and based on experience and timeline, like we're at the upper limit at the moment, but you are the CMO, and I don't want you to think of yourself as a director. I listen to you. I asked you to take that seat. We promoted you because you're amazing and we believe in you. So don't kneecap yourself by thinking my wings are only this big. Your wings are this big. So my VP of revenue operations, Tally Bielitz, is probably the greatest VP of RevOps who ran marketing. So in my world, for me, my data person is also my leader of marketing. And then underneath that person, I have, quote, my CMO. And Tally is there to provide that coaching and guidance. But so on my staff, I have my leader of customer support, customer success, my channel team, my RevOps team, and my industry experts. And so those are the think tank that I meet with all the time. And then we bring our next round of leaders up on a case-by-case basis to expose them. How are you getting the next round of leaders ready? The fight for me is at the front line. My leadership team's amazing. So I'll stop there. But yeah, so I bring a wide range of people that impact that entire circular journey that I'm trying to implement. Because when you get those people together and talking like that, then all of a sudden they can leave and understand the implications and what they need to go drive to move the whole ship forward holistically. So that's where marketing is still marketing. But okay, sales, what's happening? RevOps, tell me the conversion rate by stage. CS, what are you hearing from your customers? What should I take that back to the front end of the house again? Where are we winning? Where are we losing, and why? All right, let's take that insight. Let's feed it to the front end of the machine. Who are we recruiting and why? Sales team, you were winning over here, losing over there. Stay away. RevOps, reaffirm all this data. And around we go, right? So we try to use math and data, and then their brains.
Beautiful big brains. Math and data all day long. I'm here for. I think that's the beautiful thing about the CRO seat. It sounds like at your organization in particular, and this every organization is different, which is why I've absolutely adored these conversations. It sounds like for your organization, you were essentially running all three of these functions. Just to break it down, like in simple terms for everybody who's used to things, right? So we got product marketing, demand gen, sales, and then customer success. So if we're looking at this for traditional functions, as
Correct.
a CRO, you're sort of leading the charge.
That's right. That's right. My job is to tie all those streams together to a united force.
Right. And I love how you're working them together in a flywheel. I think that's absolutely what needs to happen. Let's go back to the leads conversation, because I have been having this left, right, and center. I just brought on a brand new client who I'm totally stoked to work with, and they gave me lead goals. And I was like, let's talk about this, because it's kind of high for the kind of organization that you are. Why is this so high? And they're like, well, here's how it breaks down, right? And so they had this astronomical leads goal that broke down to like 10 prospects. So I was like, hey, it sounds like we got a little wasted here. How do we reduce this waste so that like we're looking at a third of really what we need? Can we stop talking about it being a lead goal, and can we talk about it being a revenue goal? And so I was able to help them make that shift. But I'm talking to a single owner at a small law firm, right? So when you're talking at an enterprise level, which so many of you are on the front lines for, how do you help organizations make this shift? There has to be internal politics that unfold to get everybody aligned to understanding that more leads don't ultimately lead to more revenue.
Exactly. And what you were touching upon, like, I think there has been a seismic shift in the last 18, 24 months. And what I think you just described is an approach of grow at all costs. We need leads, I need leads, I need leads. Just fill the bucket up. We got to grow. Don't care. Cost efficiency, cost per lead, conversions. Nobody's measuring. Nobody gives a shit. The VP of sales is like, fill up the bucket. My salespeople don't have enough. Got it. And in the new world, with the interest rates where they are, money's not free. Money's invisible. People are cutting. People are making very hard choices. Companies are trying to stay alive. The whole notion of more is a bad approach of a last year. Companies like countries get great at fighting their last battle. Very few can shift in real time to look forward. And the world changed. And, it's interesting enough, my VP of RevOps Marketing, myself, my CTO, and my Director of all Customer Support and Success went and took this class called Revenue Architecture. And the whole premise of it is we are in SaaS 2.0, and healthy businesses, profitable businesses are going out right now at 6 to 8x times multipliers than companies who are going out as grow at all costs. And so more leads, like, we suffered from it as well. And so how did we stop that? You can see my win rate in Q3 a year ago was 3.6%. The last 3 quarters has been 20.6, 21.2, and 20.4. And we did that based on a few things. That the premise of more was dumb, and 2, rip through your source of information. Where do your leads come from? Do you know the source? Do you know the cost? My former team would be like, Tim, we got 4,000 leads from events. Yep. And after $586,000 to spend, you got me nothing. Let's stop with that. Do I have to get involved here? Like, how come nobody's looking at this math? Christ, right? And so what that is let's set aside all this for a minute, and let's get back to who is our customer, what is the impact that they need, and why? And can I dial that in as tight of an ICP as I can? Can I help my marketing people hunt with as specific and tight focus as I can give them? Because life is hard. Spam laws are changing. The pandemic, nobody wants you to call them on their phone. You can't just blast emails out anymore. You must know about your business. The second part of this more lead shit, tell me the efficiency of all your salespeople. You have 2 people that are going to do about 67% of your revenue. You got 5 that don't do shit, and you got 2 that should be fired. And yet you're pounding on the marketing team about feeding all this waste. What a tremendous waste of capital that you don't even know your own business, right? So the reason we were able to do that is we put a full stop and said, where have we been successful? Where did it come from and where did we not? And without prejudice and who gives a shit, just stop the things that aren't working. And let's look at math and data. So I agree with you. Like I have that same problem. And to my marketing team, though, my job as CRO, when I talk about leads and they choke, I'm like, listen, let's stop for a second. The easiest way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. Let's break this problem down now. We have multiple ways. Here's our goal. Outbound, inbound, get this thing called the channel, right? What are you directly responsible for and how can we break that down? But I think the more to me is an indication of a systemic problem in that organization that probably has nothing to do with marketing. Yeah, somebody at the top of that program needs to finally step up and be like, this is dumb, right? I can't continue to fill this bucket fast enough because there's not enough out there anymore.
There's not enough out there. Yes.
We have to move from a shotgun to a sniper. You must try to be as accurate as for us in our business and our goals.
Yeah.
Can I stretch it? What's my cost per lead? What's my cost per deal reg through a channel? How much did that deal cost me through a channel partner versus investment? Is that good? Is it going to happen later? Is it not? What avenues are we using from an outreach, inbound, outbound? And do you know, before just more, there isn't any fuel anymore for that kind of answer. So for me, the best thing to do was take my leadership team, the CTO, the person that develops product, and put them through a revenue architecture class and say, do you now understand when you miss a deadline, the catastrophic wave that sends through everything? And marketing, your responsibility, I hired you because you're smart. You are supposed to be smarter than I am. Are you supposed to be looking at this damn data and tell me that this is stupid? I ask my people two things, Carrie. Be loyal to the number, not me. Be loyal to the number that you're responsible for. Love that number, but tell the truth. And two, don't let me drive this business in a fucking tree. That's why you're here. That's why I don't want to be the answer man.
I have a couple questions against this because it's just the struggle is real across the board, especially for marketing folks. And so I love what Trevor's talking about in terms of ABM and event. Like there's attribution that has a play in this, right? And so when we say something isn't working and we turn it off and we just say, well, it's not driving revenue, there is outside factors of building your brand and awareness that has implications down funnel towards that revenue. How are you balancing that? Or are you just really that hyper focused on that sphere and bottom and saying the brand will work itself out? That's maybe a crass way of saying it, but I'm just.
Yeah. And by the way, I just realized there were comments. I just turned on, I'm seeing all these things. It's amazing.
I know. Look at all these comments.
So no, we just went through a rebrand ourselves. Right. And so, there is what is you gotta be able to found your SEO, right? The question on ABM, absolutely. Right. If you're at larger clients, that makes sense. I work for Acton, marketing automation company. So coming into this, understand those concepts. But, for us, it is, how do they find me? And what is the purpose of my brand? And so with limited dollars, you have to choose, right? This is where you have to make really hard decisions around like, I can get this going and that's what I'm going to do. And its purpose will be here. And then I'm going to invest in other approaches, whether that is outbound or inbound. So having gone through this brand of what happens to our SEO, how do we make sure the new website doesn't get lost? How do we not undo all that goodness? So I think it's a balancing act. But for me at the moment, can I get the basics correct? My web is easy. It's clean. It supports the information. And it connects those potential clients with my folks. Beyond that in brand at the moment, that's where we are, right? With limited dollars, coming from Zoom, like you could be in Sheboygan, Wisconsin and hear an ad on the radio for that tool. And that's brand. For me, I have a different goal for what that word means to me. Let me stop.
I think that's really helpful.
No, good.
Yeah, I think that's really key because what happens is when we start talking about revenue so heavily and we zone in on it so hard, we forget about all the aspects that helped make that even happen to begin with. And we lose sight of our brand. And then all of a sudden the revenue dries up and we're like, well, what just happened? It's
Yeah,
like, well,
that's right.
you turned off all of the things that got your name out there. And so I love that we drew that back. And I think that's so important. I think there's a lovely balance of all the things you're saying here. I want to sort of draw the string through, and you're going to correct me if I'm wrong. It's going to be brilliant. But what's happening in everything you're saying, Tim, around the team you're building is this delicate balancing act. And what I love about this conversation is your energy has shifted. And it shifted from this wonderful, soft, vulnerable place of hiring the right people and getting them in the right seats and empowering them to holding them accountable to say yes and, right? At the end of the day, I want you to be your best self in the right seat, doing your greatest work. And at the end of the day, we all need this stupid number of revenue to make the company work and go round. And we're all held to that. And
That's
so
right.
how are you going to be smarter than me and better than me to help us accomplish this really hard thing? We're all in agreement. This is not easy.
That's right.
Not easy.
And the revenue is a unifying goal and language. And I think it's important because I wouldn't want anyone on this call to think that's all I talk about. It's a unifying force that transcends all of my department heads because it impacts all of them. And therefore, that's an easy thing to point, like my job is to align the vectors or get my rowboats towards the mothership and then get them rowing in the right direction, right? So revenue allows me to do that succinctly and easily, and it's universal. We have a goal, it's published, we all know it. Now, when I get into my departments like marketing, my teams do things like inbound, outbound brand, customer success, our install base, our customer stories, our personas, our messaging, our outreach. All of those nuances happen and we talk about them. But the difference was those departments believed that was their end all goal versus no. The output of all of this energy is to grow our revenue and defend it and to ensure that customer who has trusted us with dollars and probably their jobs in these days of betting big money on solutions, that we can deliver on those impacts, right? So that's what we're after. So I push on the revenue and goals is because it allows my organization to operate as that team, right? Can I push decisions out to my amazing people farther and farther and farther out on the edge? Can I get my most junior person in the staff to make a good decision at the moment they need to? Why? Because they understand how their job relates to the overall goal. And that's revenue. And there are steps in between that, Carrie. But if I can help them understand overall the objective and the direction, then I believe they can make a decision. Because at the end of the day, we're not saving babies. Make a decision. Problems aren't wine. They don't get better with time, right? I just get it done. And that's what we're after but how do you do that? You empower your people and you're like, hey, listen, you're going to make a bad decision, but that's all right because you're making them. And as you make them, we'll get better. Don't worry about that part, right? But you got to lead.
We do. We get to iterate. You do. Oh my gosh. So many one-liners. I'm going to have quotes for days. This is unbelievable. What I really love, just to close us out here, Tim, is you brought us home and you skimped on it. And I want to double down on it, is that it's all about people. From the people you hire and empower to the revenue you build to empower more people to ensure that your product is making their jobs easier. I think we can all rally around the idea of helping one another from internally to externally. And that's what MKG stands for too. We're all about empowering our customers to do better for their customers at the end of the day. And that's what we're all here for. It's a cyclical cycle.
Right. It's really simple. Treat your people as you want to be treated.
Yes. And there's accountability that goes into that. And I love how you're able to really define that in a way that's both human and also brings it all together for folks. So thank you for this, Tim. Before we close out, I know we're a minute over, but you're more than a CRO and a sales guy and a marketer and a leader, thanks to your wonderful background. I got to know, we're halfway through the year. We're in the summer months. What are you most looking forward to now in the rest of 2024?
I have a 13-year-old. It's summertime, so any time I can spend with him, right? What I've learned is like at 13, kids don't want to talk to you very much. So I like to go ride my mountain bike out in the woods with my son, because what I've learned is he can decide not to talk to me, or he can ride his mountain bike. He cannot do those two things at once. So I'm probably in the best shape of my life. I'm like, we're going to do another mile. Spending time with my family. I mean, if fortunate, once upon a time, traveled the world for a different job, and now to be home and be a member of my family every day, mow my yard and be present. Yeah, those are the things I look forward to.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's what summer is all about, is really, even for my kids, like we got 6 weeks. We got to make the most of it.
Gotta go.
We got to make the most of it. And it is true. There comes a moment where they stop talking to you, which is kind of scary. It's scary.
It is. So find that reason and pound through that.
Yes.
Like, you can only do one of those two choices.
And my daughter just wants to talk to me about nail varnish and Taylor Swift right now. And I'm going to let her, because there's going to come a day where she needs to talk to me about boys. And I need to make sure that I build up the credibility now.
In an ending, I'll leave you. I read something that said, in 5 years, will you look back upon this moment and wish you had it back? And if so, live in it, because you won't get it back. I struggle with my little boy, 8th grade. I have 1 more year, and he's going to high school, and he's going to college, and then he's going to be gone. And my best friend is leaving. And I'm like, that is the stuff that puts all of this conversation that we've had into perspective. What's important? Treat people with respect, push fucking hard, but do so with love in your heart, and shield your people. If you want them to take a risk, then fucking show them that you go ahead and do that. And I will look after you, and I will look after you.
Tim Maloney, everybody. I am so grateful for this conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to Peter and Trevor for joining us and for your comments. I appreciate you both. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, and share. This episode is brought to you by the People First organization of MKG Marketing. 13 years, y'all. Going strong. Appreciate your support these last 4 years with Tea Time. I'm so grateful. If this episode was brought to you by MKG. If you'd like to be a guest, please DM me. I would love to have you on. And this episode is produced by Snappy. If you want to know more about that, be sure to hit me up. And I'll be back next week for another wonderful episode. And I look forward to seeing y'all there. Thank you again. Thank you again, Tim.
Thank you.